Hey everyone! Tonight, we're stepping quietly behind the thick stone walls of medieval convents where vows of piety and chastity echoed through the halls, but weren't always exactly obeyed. Because while the Middle Ages gave us towering cathedrals and luminous manuscripts, they also left behind something a little less holy: court records, whispered confessions, and letters that paint a much messier, more human picture of convent life. One with secret lovers, hidden pregnancies, escape tunnels, and yes, even full-blown orgies cloaked in spiritual ecstasy. So before we begin, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you. I love seeing where in the world this strange little journey takes us all. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum, and settle in as we drift back in time. When a woman entered a medieval convent, she was meant to abandon the world completely, her jewelry, her family name, even her right to be touched. She became, in theory, a bride of Christ. But in practice, that holy marriage had loopholes. The vow of chastity was serious business. No touching, no flirting, and definitely no moonlit rendezvous in the cloister garden with Brother Thomas from the nearby abbey. But vows, as any tired bishop or frustrated abbess could tell you, are only as strong as the will to keep them, and that will was, in many convents, astonishingly flexible. Some nuns treated chastity as more of a suggestion. Locked away for decades, surrounded by other women and the occasional suspiciously attractive priest, the lines between spiritual devotion and physical desire could get blurry. Some found theological loopholes. If Christ was your heavenly spouse, then wasn't a little mystical passion justified? Especially if it was written in Latin. Church inspectors sent to ensure pious behavior often reported things with delicately vague phrases like excessive familiarity between sisters or unescorted male visitors to the orchard. Translation? Someone was up to something, and probably near the apples. Not all convents were the same, of course. Some were genuinely devout. Others, especially the wealthier ones, functioned more like noble dormitories. Families sent their rebellious daughters to the convent with the unspoken hope that someone else would handle their enthusiasm. Some nuns resisted temptation. Others leaned in. And some interpreted chastity the way we interpret unlimited breadsticks, liberally. Now here's where it gets trickier: pregnancy. Unlike secret love letters or a hidden flask of wine, a growing belly was hard to conceal under a habit, and even harder to explain. Yet time and again, church records report the same thing: nuns getting pregnant. Not metaphorically, literally, inconveniently. Pregnant. Explanations varied. Some blamed demons. Others claimed divine miracles. One even insisted she'd simply fallen onto a man. Gravity, it seems, was quite persuasive. The convent's response? Panic, denial, strategic seclusion. The nun would suddenly fall ill and disappear for months. The baby might be quietly sent away, or in darker cases, simply disappear. Some convent graveyards held tiny, unmarked graves, silent apologies written in stone. And who were the fathers? Traveling priests, handsome visitors, gardeners, in one colorful case, a harp-playing troubadour with a wicked smile. The investigation ended there. No further explanation was necessary. Punishments weren't exactly equal. A peasant-born nun might be cast out in disgrace. A noble-born sister? She might get a warning and a sabbatical. One particularly audacious abbess was caught with both a lover and a child, and kept her position. Apparently, leadership was a bit more forgiving in some corners. The church insisted these were rare, isolated tragedies, but the parchment trail suggests otherwise. Scandal, after all, leaves ink stains that never quite fade, especially when the scribe is a gossiping bishop with excellent handwriting.
Convents, underestimated as places of strict devotion, often became the unlikely stage for the most delicate kind of rebellion. In the cloister, affection was a covert operation, silently encoded in flowery Latin that could pass as either a romantic confession or an intense prayer. Nuns may have taken vows of silence, but their quills were far less obedient. Letters became everything when whispered trysts were too risky and meaningful glances across the chapel no longer satisfied. Love found its loophole in ink and wax. Some notes were slipped through cracks in the cloister wall. Others were tucked inside loaves of bread or passed along by suspiciously helpful novices with excellent poker faces. The contents ranged from tender to utterly unprintable. One nun famously wrote to her priest lover that she longed to drink from his chalice of devotion. The bishop who discovered it was so scandalized, he ordered the letter burned twice just to be sure. These weren't always fleeting affairs. One French nun corresponded with a young nobleman for over a decade, outliving 2 abbesses and at least 3 failed attempts to catch her. Her downfall, quoting Ovid a bit too accurately in the convent's choir book. The church, unsurprisingly, did not take kindly to literary lust. When love letters were discovered, punishments followed: excommunication, solitary prayer, forced public readings of the letters before the entire convent, arguably more humiliating than divine judgment. As for their lovers, if they were priests, they were discreetly reassigned to colder, less romantic outposts. If layman punishments could include fines, floggings, or outright bans from speaking to women of the cloth, one man's punishment included all 3. His only question: can I still write? Worse were the intercepted letters that turned into medieval gossip columns. Imagine spending hours crafting your deepest, most sacred affections, only to have them read aloud by a giggling novice over mead and cheese. And still, the ink kept flowing. Because when the walls were high and the eyes ever watchful, love adapted, with metaphor, innuendo, and very determined handwriting,